Please will receive a big privilege out here. Please give it up for Dan Ridley-Ellis.
So right now, the Scottish Government is asking the people of Scotland to make a choice. A choice with a strong connection to Scottish history, the concept of Scottish nationhood, and the sense of national identity of the Scottish people. What should be Scotland's national tree? Who here thinks that we already have a national tree? Put your hands up. Anyone? Keep your hand up if you think that the national tree is Scots pine. I can't actually see anyone. But I'll tell you that Wikipedia thinks that the national tree of Scotland is Scots pine. If you go to the list of national symbols for Scotland, there it is. If you go to the list of national trees, there it is. So maybe the Scottish Parliament just didn't think to check. But the reason that we're having a consultation is because someone decided to petition the Parliament and ask for Scots pine to be made the national tree of Scotland. They got 458 signatures and 229 Facebook likes. So not exactly a huge swell of public demand. So how come something happened? Well, what I think happened is because this is the year of National Scotland, and I think the MSPs decided that this was an easy way to be seen to be doing something towards that. And I should think it appealed to the nationalists too, who would think that this is a way to strengthen Scottish identity and probably to publicly complain about the lack of official powers to declare national trees. But the petitions committee, they weren't necessarily sold on the idea of it being Scots pine. So right now there is a consultation going asking us, should we have a national tree? And if so, what should this national tree be? This consultation closes on the 3rd of December. But before I run you through the main contenders, I better declare my personal interest. So I work for the Forest Products Research Institute at Edinburgh University, and we hug trees, quite literally. We hug trees. You have to when you're putting the diameter tape round to measure the breasts. And contrary to what you might be thinking, bigger breasts aren't always better, and you should look for a good shaped butt too. But me and my colleagues, we love trees. We really love trees. We love them to the extent that we like to kill them and then decorate our houses with their dismembered body parts. But hey, that's still a kind of a love, isn't it? So, Scots pine. Well, that seems the natural choice, doesn't it? And it is the favourite. And I don't think I really need to explain why, although I've not met anyone yet who can explain to me how Scots pine got its name. Because its natural range extends a little bit into England. Oh, and Scandinavia. Russia. Mongolia, China. And as far south as Portugal, Turkey, and Azerbaijan. And of course it has a lot of other names too. The Americans tend to call it Scotch pine, which I guess is not strictly correct unless it's covered in sausage meat and breadcrumbs. As I was last night. Now the press release around the consultation describes Scots pine as one of the strongest softwoods. It isn't. No, don't get me wrong, it's a very useful construction timber, but it's not up there with the big hitters like Corsican pine, for example. But I suppose it depends on what you're comparing it to. So if you're comparing it to the likes of juniper, well, yeah, but that's a bit like saying that eating chicken is like eating dinosaur. Because a chicken is more like a dinosaur than a Tunnocks tea cake is. But you're not exactly chomping down on a T-Rex. So it's not even our main timber species that we have here in Scotland. No, that's the non-native Sitka spruce. So maybe that should be made our national tree. Certainly enough of it. Half of our forest area. And 5 times as much as there is of Scots pine. another advantage. The English really don't like it. But the Scottish people don't like it either, so maybe it's a step too far, but maybe we should like it, because this is the tree that keeps our timber industry going, and also provided all the high-strength timber for our fighter planes in the First World War, so I think maybe we owe it one. The other reason why Scots pine is not our main timber species is something called bluestain. Bluestain is a fungus that turns the sawn timber blue. So that could be a reason for saying that Scots pine should be our national tree, because, well, painting your face blue in the face of threat is quite a Scottish thing to do. The other thing that's affecting Scots pine at the moment is a disease called Dothystroma, which is a genuine problem, but you don't hear much about it because of ash dieback, which is much more of a concern to the south of England, and therefore, of course, to all of the UK media. But I don't know whether the likes of the Daily Mail would be so supportive of the ash if they knew that some of the trees were bisexual. Bisexual because the flowers have both male and female parts. And I know you're curious, and yes, a little bit of selfing does occur. This would be a good opportunity, I think, to talk a little bit about tree sex. So your broadleaves, your hardwoods, like the ash, these are the ones that reproduce with flowers, like scandals at the Co-op Bank. And your softwoods, your conifers, these are the ones that reproduce with cones, like motorways. And cones, if you're interested, reproduce with Duke of Wellington statues. Now I mentioned ash dieback, but actually it's Phytophthora ramorum that is the real larch enemy of the Scottish forests. This is a fungus-like pathogen which, despite efforts to stop it, will kill probably all of the larch trees that we have in this country. Now larch is a non-native species, but we have a lot of it, so this is going to be a big deal for Scotland and its landscape. We have a lot of it, thanks in no small part to the 18th century planting dukes of Atholl, who in at least one area planted trees by firing bags of seed out of a cannon. Now, I think that ecology would get a lot more traction from a certain sector of society if it involved more firing things out of cannons. Right now, the beaver is being reintroduced to Scotland. Maybe we should be releasing them into the wild by firing them out of cannons. We put little parachutes on them, obviously, otherwise the idea sounds crazy. So the other main contender, the second favourite, is rowan. Rowan is a native hardwood. It's very important to the ecology of Scotland. It has nice, pretty red berries. A bunch of folklore about witches, so it wouldn't be a bad choice. Although the flowers do smell like a urinal in a fish market. But in this consultation, we're free to choose any tree that we like. So, well, the banana is probably the most popular fruit in Scotland, so maybe we should make that the national tree. What else could we make it? Could it be a mug tree? Or a shoe tree? Or a puppet tree? Or a poet tree? Maybe we shouldn't pick a specific tree at all, and we could just make it an arbour tree. So what do I think? Well, on first thoughts, this does seem like an awful waste of money in a time of austerity. But on second thoughts, well, it seems like a waste of time too, given that many of us think that we already have a national tree, including Wikipedia. But there is actually a difference between an official national tree and an unofficial one. An unofficial national tree is one that just everyone decides is true. But an official national tree, well, that often comes with all sorts of rules about how you can use the symbol and what it should look like. So one outcome of this consultation might actually be that the Scots pine gets taken away as a symbol for Scotland, gets taken away from the people of Scotland and gets put in the hands of the politicians. But on third thoughts, well, if it gets us thinking about the future of forests in Scotland, and about the things that we need from them and the things that they need from us, well, that's got to be a good thing. But what do I think? I haven't filled in the consultation. I don't know what the answer should be. I'm stumped. So I better make like a tree and leave. Thank you very much.